Hello there. Hey, Reid.
Hey, how you going today?
Very well. All the better to be joined by you, of course. Makes me.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on kind of on the flip side. It's not often I get to be the guest on a stream versus the host, so it's like, hey, this is nice. I get to like just I get to sit back and just relax a little bit. I don't have to like manage any of the controls, so yeah.
Exactly. If anything goes wrong, you can just leave me to sort it out, all that kind of stuff. You can sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Usually,
Exactly, yeah.
I'm used to saying sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight from my days of being a flight attendant, but no longer. This is where we are. So, mate, would you like to do a bit of an intro about yourself? Tell the people out there who you are and what makes you happy, and then we can get going.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, my name is Reid Havens. I already recognized Donald and a few other people in the chat saying hello. So good to see you on the on another channel for this. But I've been doing Power BI stuff for essentially since its iteration about 8 years ago. Been in the
Mm.
BI space for nearly a decade. Been gracious enough to just be awarded my fifth chip this year for the MVP stack. So I've
Congratulations, mate.
now thank you. Yeah, half a decade managed through that. I still haven't got an MVP jacket yet, which I've keep trying to bug the like guys, come on, 5 years in, can I?
Oh,
I
okay.
want the swag. I want to be able to wear this at a conference. So hopefully, I'm getting that sometime soon. But yeah, I just love visual design and aesthetics. I think that's what a lot of my stuff on my YouTube channel is.
Absolutely.
Havens consulting for YouTube, and it just cool tips and tricks and everything related to that. And it was
Very
gracious
cool.
enough to be able to have you on earlier this year as well to show a lot of cool stuff with
Yeah.
reporting and some fun things with bookmarking and everything else, which was a
Mm.
great stream as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I have to say, it's an interesting thing. I mean, I haven't done many, you know, oh, my camera's gone stranger. I'll
Oh
switch it off.
yeah, I've had that. I get the exact same thing. Do you have the Elgato like HD capture as well?
Yeah, the 4K,
That
this, that.
so that's the exact same. So exactly, if it gets glitchy, you just flip the camera on and off, and it fixes it. But every once in a while, it gets that weird stutters. That's funny.
Yeah.
It's a hardware issue. Clearly, if we have the exact same thing.
Yeah, I love the fact that you just knew what it was straight away. You've done so many streams yourself. You're like, I know this
Yep.
issue.
Yep. Yeah. We
This is
tried
great.
turning it on and off again.
Yeah, we're gonna troubleshoot together. It's gonna be fine.
This is great. We got two tech experts now on the call.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't call myself an expert. I think on one occasion I just completely booted myself off and I couldn't get back into my own chat, which is a really strong moment for me. But yeah, you kind of the whole learn by doing thing, right?
Exactly.
What's this, Donald? I feel more British having watched 3 seasons of Broadchurch in the past. This is a really interesting thing. So, by the way, we might not get talking about Power BI for a good few minutes, but we'll get there, I promise, right? Um, I was wondering today about watching US TV and watching British TV. And I was wondering, do you think British people know a lot more about US words and culture and stuff because of watching so much US TV? Like, I realize there are things that I have never seen or come. Like, for example, I learned that it's not called Chipotle, it's called Chipotle or something. I'm not sure.
Chipotle. Yeah,
Yeah, Chipotle.
Chipotle.
Yeah, that's it. It's all these really like things
Yeah.
that you kind of say, what is that? And then I learned what a Taco Bell was because of the film Demolition Man back in the day, which was a cool film,
Oh,
by the way.
have you been to Taco Bell? It's like I have been to Taco Bell. Like that. Yeah, that's also one of my favorite sci-fi movies from the 90s. It's absolutely amazing.
Isn't it a brilliant film?
Enhance your
Brilliant.
calm. Enhance your calm.
And How'd You Come? And What Is Your Boggle? That kind of stuff. Oh man, that is a
Yep.
quality film.
And you gotta learn how to use the seashells.
Still don't know how to use those three seashells.
If I have enough I'll say the YouTube polite way, like enough screw around money, as they'll politely say that. I would love to actually have a house someday that has those built in, just for a real deep reach. For like that one, like the friends who come over, like I know exactly what that reference is, and I applaud you for that, sir.
Yeah, that would be a cool thing to have actually just sitting there by the side of your bathroom.
Right? And there's a
Taco,
fancy
yeah.
Japanese toilet sitting in there with next to the three seashells.
Yeah.
Yep.
Taco Bell. Does that mean, are we saying that Taco Bell's bad? Is that what's happening right now? I've no experience, you know what I'm saying?
It's it's not good, but it's not bad. But it's what you appreciate when, let's just say, if you've been up all night and you're still awake at 3 a.m. with your friends, that's when you usually want Taco Bell.
I was just about. It's basically it's hangover food, is what you're saying. It's just basically
Yeah, I mean that was
drunken
their
horror food.
actual full marketing campaign. For a long
Oh yeah.
time, they described themselves as the fourth meal. Like we're the fourth meal of the day. Like that was an actual marketing campaign because like we know what time you guys come to us. We're just gonna lean in on this. We're doubling down.
Love it. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in Australia. Actually, I discovered. I think it was the first time I ever ate at a Nando's. I don't really eat out very often, like at fast food places. And I got home from where I'd been, and I was less sober than usual, shall we say? And there was like a McDonald's here and a Nando's there. And I walked into the Nando's purely because I just didn't recognize the fact there was two different doors. And that was my first experience eating Nando's. And it was a lot spicier than I was expecting because I was expecting McDonald's. So there you go. Anyway, that's just some random chat about places to eat when you're out in the US or Australia, of course. But yeah, it's
Right.
my point was basically that I was thinking about, okay, for example, like TV shows were kind of seeing so much stuff about based on the US, like where things are or what things are called or just in popular culture. And I was thinking, I wonder if that works both ways. I mean, how often do you reference British popular culture in US TV shows or whatever? I don't know. Random
I
thing.
I do. I mean, there's certainly a lot more U.S. production than British, but like you have some of those iconic things that are continuously coming out of there. You know, especially any of the BBC stuff, like Downton Abbey obviously is big.
Yeah.
Christchurch, you have Doctor Who, any of the
Doctor
spin-offs
Who,
from
nice.
Doctor Who. Sherlock is another really good one. The Bridgerton, which is like Netflix's. They were trying
Yeah,
to they were trying to go off of the like people really like Victorian period shows, so we got to make more of these with very attractive people who just get it on. Like apparently
that's
that's a the genre now. It's attractive people,
yeah.
making love in Victorian periods. That's an entire subgenre at this point.
Yeah, it's kind of like the young adult literature, but like Netflix version, whatever it's called.
Yeah,
Oh man, but yeah. Anyway, sorry, mate. So back to Power BI. We're here to talk about Power BI, right? I think a little bit.
yeah,
Um,
slightly.
so yeah, actually, the first thing that we kind of mentioned was you're obviously hosting a lot of things yourself, and I did yours a couple of months ago, and I did whole bookmarks and what have you buttons. And it was an interesting thing because I haven't done that many outside of my own stuff. I've done like one or two user groups, and I felt, oh, you're so good at writing in the chat, mate. That's something that I haven't mastered yet. When I did it, I have to be honest, and I'm not saying this for any other reason. I felt like it went horribly because I constantly, when I do stuff, I constantly kind of like judge myself as I'm doing it. I'm like, oh my God, I clicked on this button. I should have clicked on this button and what have you. And I didn't check like any LinkedIn or Twitter for a good while after because I just didn't feel like it went well at all. But the first LinkedIn message I got afterwards was for some person, I forget who it was now, saying, oh, I really enjoyed it. Thanks very much. It was a really good show. And I was like, oh, thank you. That makes me feel so much better. The amount of self-doubt that one can feel or how harsh you can be when you judge yourself is
Oh
truly a
yeah.
brutal thing.
The what's we are our own worst critic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I have a great like analogous story to that. I mean, I I've taught for quite a few years now at a couple different universities, and the very
Mm.
first time I ever instructed, I had a similar feeling to what you said. Like
Mm.
it's a lot of like tripping over yourself, and then it's almost like you're just darn it. Like I flubbed that. Okay, I clicked in the wrong spot. I basically I went in studying my butt off and trying to prepare for it.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure I sweated like a gallon through the entire thing, and come home just thinking, man, that must have sucked. People probably thought I was terrible, and I
Mm.
got the evaluations back, and apparently they were all fours and fives. People loved the content. They liked my enthusiasm. Like, oh wow, really like most of those voices that I had in my head were all just me. Like
Mm.
it's really not nearly as bad as you think it is. But like that was a nice reassurance, similar to your LinkedIn message, where it's afterwards where you get a few of those like
Mm.
positive comments, like okay,
Mm.
this is encouragement. It's helping me to like with anybody who has stage fright, you ignore those voices that are like too self critiquing, and you learn after a while like it's okay to stumble through and be natural. It doesn't have to be scripted,
Mm.
and either way, I would say it's more enjoyable to watch someone just going off the cuff and like, oh, like darn, you know what? That's right. I was actually supposed to go over here, so we're gonna journey to this other spot. Like if you just go
Mm.
with it and play with it, it's you're just hanging out, and I outside of recorded videos, which there is a bit more of that like polished speaking style that you
Yeah,
want.
yeah, of course.
Things that are off the cuff, it's just like talking to someone at a over a dinner table or something. As I like to think about it. This isn't
Mm.
a poised production, and those are boring anyways. If you remove all that personality and you're just
Yeah,
speaking from script, so to speak.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think also, I mean, you also when you present these things, people you present to, or when you show things, people are used to things. Not people are not. There's no expectation that things are going to be perfect because they've seen
Hmm.
the errors pop up. I mean, for me, when I started like getting into Deneb and stuff and using and obviously
Yeah,
Vega
yeah,
Lite, I mean that was rough because to live type code is something I've never done before. And I'm like, it's like, oh, I've missed a bracket. This will take half an hour. And you got to be
yep.
like, okay, can I find exactly where this is? And it's just really getting used to. And I think that's for me maybe a lot to do with the industry itself is just getting used to errors. And errors are okay. I saw I don't know, it was like a cartoon or some kind of joke thing on Twitter or whatever, and it was like the difference between like a senior and a junior, and the junior's sitting in his desk like all like nervous. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe I made a mistake. I hope no one finds out. And the senior is more like pointing at his screen and laughing, saying, "Hey, everyone, come and look at the stupid mistake that I made." Um, that level of being comfortable with your own errors or understanding that there's no way you can know everything that you need to know at any given point is, I think, quite an important part of development as well.
I agree, and kind of two things to that because you made a comment on both being comfortable with, I think, needing to fix things
Mm,
but also just typing code specifically.
mm,
And Daniel Marsh Patrick, I forget the name of the tool, but I would highly recommend pinging him about this. Maybe I mentioned it during our live stream, but he has a tool that does macros. So he has a bunch of things to his Stream Deck where he has a folder with each button. So like that body of code that actually has the type and the carriage return. So let's say he needs to type out 8 lines.
yeah,
He just basically clicks his mouse into there, clicks the button, and it just very quickly prints it out. So like
mm,
all the need to it looks better than copying and pasting because it does
mm,
actually type it out, but it does it at very fast speed, and it's perfect because he did that on a stream. Like, how did you type so fast and so
yeah,
perfectly? Like, oh no, I was not typing that. That's a tool that I use. Like, all right, that's
yeah,
brilliant. I don't do that much coding, so I probably won't use it much. But for people who do that, that's a great way to remove the stress, and also not
yeah.
having to have like a Word doc up where you have to select and copy and paste. So I
That
love
is true.
that. Yeah,
I
and
I
then
I think
go
it.
ahead.
Sorry, please continue.
No, just the only other thing I do is like my favorite thing if I'm ever presenting or teaching is if I get to learn something. So anytime that actually
Mm,
someone like I used to get stressed if someone would point out to me a better way to like do something, I'd
mm,
almost feel a bit of like initially years ago. There's a slight amount of
mm,
shame of like, oh, I should have known the best approach. I get excited now, like that's
mm,
awesome. You just taught me something, and that made my day because I now get to know how to do something better than it was. So thank you so much for showing me how to do like this hidden button that I did
mm,
not know was a feature update. So like
yeah,
that gets me one of the most excited of any time because I get to take away a new,
that's
and
cool.
I think it's a way to encourage them to also please, absolutely. If
Yeah,
you have a suggestion or an alternative or something, let the room know it. There's somebody who might learn from that.
this absolutely. I mean, completely agree. This for me, like really the only attitude to have. Anything else is just gonna, hold yourself and other people back. And it's about, sharing ideas is also like a huge thing. I the very first environment that I worked with Power BI, I thought sometimes there was this issue that everyone was kind of fighting to be like the best. Which in some regards is fine. Wanting to be, the best there's nothing wrong to having that attitude as long as you approach it in like a healthy way. And I think it was the opposite of what you just described. Really, quite often people were not wanting to come in and share ideas because either they were scared that that idea wasn't the best, or if it was, they didn't want other people to know it, which is just makes projects or anything the development very slow. You know, because basically if you have an idea, you should
Yep,
share it in case it is a great idea. And also, you're never going to know if it's a good idea unless you share it. So you're holding back your own development and the team itself or a department or whatever.
agree.
Pokemon theme. I want to be the very best. Very
That's
true.
the. I'm hoping at least one person it remembers the theme song to the TV show from back in the day. Yeah.
You know what the stupid thing is? It's not the fact that I can remember it because back when I was, so I'm like 39. Back when I was a kid, I kind of just missed the Pokemon phase.
Okay.
Or however, my kids now love Pokemon.
I
So this is my life now.
I still can't believe it is managed to because almost everything is a fad. Like I mean, like
Hmm.
earlier back then that there was Pogs and like there was like there were so many things that were popular, but they have a spike for a year or two and they poof they disappear because
Yeah.
that's just how fads work.
Hmm.
Nintendo has found a magic like marketing touch with Pokemon. Like I played the heck out of the first two games. Like I collected all 150 on my Game Boy back in like 97,
Hmm.
was obsessed with it,
Oh,
traded it with my friend. It was super fun. And then I just like the second one came out like, all right, so this is the same thing, both more Pokemon. And then with I get it, no, I'm done. I don't need to do this again. I have other video games I can play. But it is their number like they make more money off of their Pokemon franchise than the entire rest of their business combined.
wow.
Nintendo's number one bankroller in the billions, tens of billions of dollars a year is Pokemon merchandise and franchising and everything involved in
Wow.
it. It's insane how
That
much
is.
money they make. Yeah.
That is very strange because you're right. I mean, exactly what you say. If
Yeah.
it's like there's this program on Netflix called "The Toys That Made Us" or something. If you
That's
think
a great
about,
show.
it is a great show. I love
Yeah.
that very much. Some great days watching that with a bit of nostalgia, you know. But if you think about all the toys that they mentioned on this show, and they were all huge, the ones that really exist now are very. I mean, maybe He-Man kind of bit of a
Yeah.
resurgence recently, but other than that, like consistent. Exactly, my kids spend a lot of money on Pokemon from Donnelly. Yeah, I've had. I mean, my
Especially
kids.
cards.
Yeah, the cards. I mean, my kids aren't old enough to have. Well, they kind of have a bit of their money, pocket money, and whatnot. But we have to be really careful because I mean, probably they make so much because you can spend so much on it. I mean, my daughter, she finished her second school year, so we bought her like a present, and we got like a Pokemon board game, and now she's playing a Pokemon board game that I also don't understand because I don't understand. I mean, the fact that it's also in German doesn't help as well. So I'm like Pokemon, and I don't know what Pokemon, and then I'm reading it and it's like, what's this? Like, what's the strengths of these? And then of course they're German words that I've never even encountered before in my entire life because they're pretty niche German words, right? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I don't know. They're fun.
They're all owned actually. Like there is one last digression on this. They're Wizards of the Coast, based out of Seattle. Like they're
Mm.
the people who created like Magic the Gathering, which is also a massive bankroller worldwide. But they're the ones who make the card game. They're
Okay.
now owned, I think, by like Mattel, larger like toy company. But essentially, they've created a perfect formula where like you create artificial scarcity through like releasing new sets of
Mm.
cards, retiring old ones. Certain cards can be used in tournaments. Nowadays they have all those unboxings online to find those like really rare like $80,000 value Pokemon cards and stuff. But through this basically artificial value that they have
Mm.
basically dialed the psychology in perfectly to create the need to keep buying because they keep
Mm.
cycling out old cards, cycling in new, adding new things to do and attacks and all that. And basically it's a perpetual machine that can just keep churning out money and they make
It's
so much. Yeah,
it
I also
sounds
played Magic as a kid and now it's like I think
real cool.
the average deck talking to some friends who still play it, I think it's like $700 to $800 for like a tournament ready deck if you actually need cards in there. It's insanely expensive. So
Wow.
much money. Yeah, and they also make billions of dollars a year on Magic the Gathering. They are even today after like 20 nearly 30 years, they are more profitable this year over year than they've ever been. They keep growing in how much money they can make off of it.
It's like they've somehow created their own version of capitalism within within capitalism.
Yeah,
It's
but yeah, they have managed to prevent atrophy from a trend. Like they can
mm,
and from any bubbles. Like they have somehow kept themselves out of it, and they're probably the exception to the rule of any fads that normally otherwise disappear after a couple of years for
yeah,
toys or any other purchasable merchandise.
yeah.
It's impressive. Like I'm assuming the psychology that went into how do we manufacture a need and a want for our product.
And also, you think about it, from what I can see, my kids playing stuff and all their friends, it's one of the games that has been very not split by gender, right? It's just Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's all
Because there's
Pokemon.
yeah, there's
Boys play,
definitely cute
girls play.
Pokemon and like guy like it's almost like girls and guys toys. There's animals that are very much like
Yeah. Okay.
certain types of people would go towards each. So I think that helps is when you have a
Mm,
variety of creatures like that.
mm,
There's the aggressive and cute and cuddly, and like whomever wants to go to one or the other. I think that variety lets people have the
mm.
plushies and the favorite Pokemon that fit their personality, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I can tell you this as well. If you have a 3D printer, which I do, the kids love it if you print them a Pokemon. And then
Oh
sometimes
God,
they like
yeah.
it, they like it too much. And then basically every child who lives on my street has like an Onyx, which is like some kind of snake Pokemon. And I've printed, honestly, I've printed like 13 of these things, and each one takes like 7 hours to print. It's like, oh my god, please stop. Like it's so.
That's pretty great that you can print those out though.
Yeah, yeah,
I someday I want to get one, but I want one that can print a lot of different materials. So like I think the
yeah.
ones
Okay.
that I want is probably a couple grand. So it's one of those. At someday I will bite the bullet, but I
Yeah,
need to wait until that like perfect one comes out that allows me to do enough that like all right, this is the one that I want to get.
yeah. That makes sense. I went in low. I was like, okay, a few $100, that'll do, and I'll see if I can make it work, and I could. Anyway, I love all this digressing on random topics. This is
Right?
this
Yeah.
is exactly where my way to converse. I'll try and bring back a little bit of Power BI. I'll try, and then we'll probably go into something like even more random than Pokemon. But
There
I
are
can't
some
think.
pretty cool Pokemon Power BI reports that I've seen built out there where you can
Yes,
click a name from a list, it shows the image, it shows their stats, it shows
that is true.
um I always forget what's the radial circle that has the little it shows you how in or out like certain attributes are. I've never actually used one, but I've seen it a lot. But you know what
I
I
know what you
mean. Like
mean. Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
an overall it's a 0 to 10 from any spot, and it's like a line chart that goes in and out on each side depending
Is it a
on
sun
yeah
something?
something like that. But they had one of those in there based off
Yeah,
of
yeah.
like their sensitivity to certain attributes and like how strong or weak they are against fire, water, and this. But it was a really cool just
Hmm.
dashboard that they built off of being able to select any of the original 150 Pokemon and then their
Hmm.
attributes related to it.
That's very cool. I wouldn't mind getting myself that data set and me kicking around somewhere. It'd be quite fun because it's very, very for me a nice relief or whatever some other better word to be able to step back and use some kind of like non-financial data. This struggle
Exactly.
to find a decent data set. There are a couple of tools out there that give you kind of a data set, and I think I saw one just today. I forget by whom. On LinkedIn. But yes, to have a good day, especially for training. I like to use random data sets during training. Some people want me to use financial data or company data, but I'm like, no, can we just do something different? Such as my refusal to make a Corona dashboard is another of those situations.
Oh yeah, they. I mean, those were one of those where everybody's hopping on the bandwagon, and then it's just like, all right, okay, this is the 300th dashboard we've seen. We know you're trying to ride the trend. Like, let's
Yeah,
go do something somewhere else, please, a little bit.
yeah. I tell you what's interesting about trends, and I suppose this is true of all trends in general, but sticking topic, certain things just for me sometimes just appear out of nowhere, and like we're talking about this now. And the strangest one that's come up is waffle charts. I've seen waffle charts everywhere recently on Twitter,
Really?
on LinkedIn. Oh, I've created a waffle chart using this method. I've created a waffle chart, and I'm like, I have never seen a waffle chart used in a report for a long time, and then I see them everywhere. Have you seen this? Or is it just me kind of
Yeah,
noticing them more?
I've seen a few of them. I mean, in general, when it reminds me a bit of an infographic. Those things where you basically have a shape to represent a bucket or
Yeah,
an amount, and then they're usually either fully or partially filled.
right.
So that and
Classic.
they're often in one of those things where it's like a tall, graphic that has a whole
Yeah.
bunch of different visuals. Yeah, I've seen them used on and off over the years. I generally like it when it's the only time that I would say I've seen them used most often is like 0 to 100 things that are filling up
Mm,
meters or something else where you're or just like a yes no answer or it's kind of a nice variation of maybe like a pie chart or something like that as well. It actually fills up the space a little bit more, but it's a nice way
mm.
to show a cut across between sections of data. But
Yes, yeah, it's true.
yeah. There has been a little bit of a spike in them recently for sure.
Maybe I'll have to do a Deneb waffle chart. Just, just,
Right?
just because, right?
I mean, honestly, you could turn a matrix table into that. Just a little bit of
Yeah,
it's conditional formatting, and you'd probably just need like a 10 by 10 or a 5 by 5 grid.
Yeah.
That's a long link. Nope. That does that even? I tried to do a
Yeah, all right
link to
then.
the waffle chart so people can see what that is, but
You got to try and find a waffle chart inside a Pokemon report.
right there you go. We gotta make one on the fly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very guy in the cube style. No, all good, mate. Do what you need to do. But
There
yeah,
we
it's
go.
just something that I've seen kind of pop up, and I thought it was a strange thing. But you do, as you said yourself, your focus or the focus that I see on your channel and the work you do is kind of like design based. Would you agree with that, or am I very wrong?
I will, yeah. Like a lot of it is primarily design based, and just as a quick mention, mark me as a moderator on the YouTube chat, and then what I can do is I can share links because I realize like
Uh,
yeah. So
I'm very bad at that. Yeah,
YouTube's very aggressive at not letting general chat people do those, but once I
I
get set
think you're
because they're
now a moderator.
all right. Let's see if that. Okay, there we go. Excellent. So that's just
Fantastic.
for people wanting to know what a waffle chart is. There's some good examples of that.
Do that in the future. I made
Yeah.
someone a moderator 2 weeks ago, then accidentally blocked them. It was just the stupidest
Oh
thing.
no. There you go.
Please
Just like sorry,
continue.
mate.
Then. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what it was. You're a moderator. Bye.
The I've just like getting started in this years ago. It was something like I kind of just fell into. I like design, and then people just started to ask me more and more for advice. So
Mm,
I kind of just continued to double down on it. But it's also something I think a lot less people do in the design
mm,
space,
yeah,
in overall the ecosystem. So it was more of a niche that I could isolate myself out onto. Like I'm not going to try to be a DAX specialist. I you just nobody can or should even attempt to touch Marco or Alberto. They are the people for that. You know, like I'll occasionally do some tips and tricks or just because they're somewhat advanced. Like if there's a way I want to explain something really simply,
yeah.
usually with a if you want to learn more, here's some articles to SQL BI that can do a deeper dive. Data modeling, almost everyone does. So it's all those things like, all right, what can I help to stand myself out? And there's a lot less people doing aesthetics and
Mm,
report hacks and tips and tricks. So that's kind of why
yeah.
I've continued to lean in on that. And it's fun, you know, it's the artistic side of your brain versus the analytical. And it's kind of a nice way to play in both universes, so to speak. So that's kind of why I've continued to
Mm.
focus on that as the brand, so to speak.
No, I completely agree. I think it's very it's really fun to do with the visual side. And as you said, I mean, I was again speaking today. I think we was someone about Power BI and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. And my my issue, or suppose my reluctance to kind of get started earlier, was really because of what I can add, right? If you haven't made a single YouTube video, I'm always like, okay, what is there no YouTube videos about when it comes to Power BI? I'm like, oh, nothing. There's something there like it's pretty much impossible to find a video that hasn't been done already, is what I'm saying. So I was wanting to kind of find my
Yeah, yeah.
space and wanting to like fit in. And so I just kind of started making videos, started this, and I kind of now accidentally, though in no way negatively, falling into very Deneb focused, simply because it was like, I'll just make a video about what's interesting me at the time. But with the Deneb stuff as well, there isn't that much content Deneb related. There's some, of course. There's like
Sure,
some
sure.
great stuff kicking. I'm not saying the only one. By no means am I. However, I would say there's fewer people who focus on that because it's like one visualization in Power BI, right? And I said to my friend, I say, I think I've kind of accidentally stunted the growth of my YouTube channel accidentally by kind of focusing in on a niche within a niche. So but it's good fun, right? I mean, you do it, you like it, and it's
Yep.
that's what it is.
Well, there's a bit of both when it comes to the topics that you choose. I mean, you're talking to Adam Saxton over the years, like it's a little different now with premium per user, but like the
Mm.
stats show, like as soon as you talk about premium, you lose like 80% of your viewership for that video
Oh
immediately.
wow,
They just
really?
because there's so
Mm.
like think about the entire population of people who use Power BI. Think about how many people you were using premium capacity before we had
Yeah,
premium per user. Very small percentage.
that's
Just
true.
because you have to have a large enterprise company to need that, and most
Mm.
companies aren't that big. So there is a degree of like, yes, you want to make certain videos on certain topics, but to a degree, and like how many of those do you want to make that's just because you like it versus how many videos do you want to make that also are helping your channel grow and actually
Mm.
getting view counts and everything. And there, you know, live streams, as I've talked, like I love doing them. It it has very little impact, honestly, on actually getting your channel to grow. Like, it shows on the the YouTube analytics like how many new subscribers come from them. It's
Yeah.
pretty much nothing. I get like one or two. Most of them come from people watching my YouTube videos. So
Mm.
I do them because it's fun, but it's definitely not a growth avenue.
Yeah.
Really, it is a place where I can show that I've had a bunch of people that come on
Mm.
and have done streams with me on lots of topics. But
Mm.
it's kind of like a fine. It's a there's a lot of tuning to kind of figure out the exact topics. And years ago, when I was actually doing blogs at Power Pivot Pro, I used to blog for them. Then I ran the blog for about a year or so. But Rob had a kind of a mention of there's two primary things that you want to aim for. Is you either want the hot topic, which is report page tool chips just comes out. Like that's a hot topic.
Mm.
Everybody's going to want to Google this. Or do you have the slow burner, which is the thing that has the SEO and like for years and years, people are going to be Googling something and that's going to be like a video topic that comes up. The perfect
Mm.
world is you have both. You have something that is hot and will burn for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I think the only other requirement is just make sure it is providing something new. Is it something that
Mm.
hasn't been done before? Or if it has been done, is there at least a spin on it that is giving new information? The way you
Mm.
in the video, is it the way that you're teaching it? Is
Mm.
it might like I just did a video on how to make a calendar table. There's a thousand of
Nice.
them on there already how to do that, but there's a couple little techniques on certain columns that I make that are
Yeah.
I'd say like unique to how I like to build it. I also think the order and the way I explain it is different, so it still has some value because it's a different way to show it. And
Mm.
anytime I ever have anything I was inspired from, I always make sure to like, oh, by the way, check out this, link that
Mm.
I got this from. I saw this article, it inspired me to do this, but go check out the source of, my inspiration.
But I also think it doesn't really matter, in spite of what I said before, which is just more like me being in my head. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter if you do a video that's pretty much, very similar to someone else's. Sometimes it's just someone else explaining it, you know, like they take a longer pause here, or they say a certain number of words or different
sure.
words that makes you understand a concept. So I was by no means like knocking the fact that you can have like, two or three or 400, whatever, who cares, different videos on a subject, because it's just you doing what you want to do, right?
Yeah,
And this is the thing, especially as you say, with the visual aspect, which you enjoy so much. With the aesthetic, as you talking about with the Power BI, this is something that's kind of discussed quite often. Also, I mentioned this with Chris, who I think is in the chat now, a couple of weeks ago, regarding the visual aspect of Power BI. Is this something that you kind of do? You have like a long wish list, or a list of, yeah? Okay, immediately nodding.
yeah.
Would you like to share some of that list?
Very, very long. I mean, like some of those legit are probably been sitting on the bottom of the queue for like 2 to 3 years. But I mean, every time I have any idea, just like, ooh, that's a fun idea. Like it just goes down. Like
Mm,
I probably have 30 ideas on there that just because there's a
mm,
continuously stream of newer ones that come out,
mm.
but I'll never run out of some. Like if at any point I just need to like do a video in 3 hours, I'll look on the list like, okay, cool, throw a quick file together. I basically take one of my templates from my other videos, delete
Mm.
everything, put the new chart or whatever little thing is in there, record it, edit it, and throw it
Okay.
up. But I have a very long running list, and my thing is that I have a access to like Trello for my phone, and
Okay.
the second that I ever have an idea, I'll either do a voice to speech and like remind me to put down blah blah idea later on Trello, or I always basically take a note immediately if I think about it, just because that like my ADHD brain will forget it immediately, and two, the it's that's how I collect those. Is like even the smallest little idea, like and a lot of them I tested out. It nope, this isn't gonna work. I thought
Mm,
this would, but that's the way I would say to do it. Is that you
mm,
eventually just train yourself to notice those thoughts. That like, okay, this is. I thought of kind of an interesting little workaround for this.
mm,
Wait, would that be something other people would find useful? Let
mm.
me write that down, and I'll explore that
That's
later.
true.
But yeah, I just start taking down notes, and it's all
That's
those
cool.
times where I would say there's not a direct path for something. I have to do like some type of interesting little side path. Those anytime I have one of those thought processes for
Mm,
implementing something in Power BI, that's when that basically tells me this is an idea and I should write it down and consider making a video out of that.
yeah.
Sometimes I get suggestions from videos. Like I've done a couple videos now where a comment on another video of like, have you thought of this? I will actually
Mm,
put that comment onto my new video now. And like, by the way, I was inspired by Greg or whomever said that, and
Yeah,
this new video was inspired from that. So I collect
that's
all of
cool.
those, and I think I maybe have 60 something things written down. I have a long list of stuff to do.
It's a good. I mean, I'm with Chris in this one. I forget 90% of potential content for sure. It's like
Yeah.
a thought. I'm like, oh, that's good, and then will I remember that tomorrow? Knowing for a fact that I won't because I literally never do, and I'm still like, yeah, I'll remember that for tomorrow, and then it's just gone. The classic is also lying in bed, having an idea, and then falling asleep, and then you also wake up
Oh
and it's
yeah.
gone. This is
Yeah.
just how
So
it
I want to
is.
see if you can actually let's see if I can angle this just enough. And see, so do you see like the 118 scheduled tasks that I have? I like
Yeah.
my entire life goes into to my notes. Like because I'm really good at time-based reminders. So pretty much
Mm,
every day at like 10 noon or whatever, my phone will buzz like with a pop-up of like remember to do this thing. But I
mm,
basically dictate everything. Like if I'm out with a friend and oh, that's right, I have to pick up my laundry tomorrow. I'll just one sec. Hey Siri, remind me to do blank tomorrow at 10 a.m. and it goes in as a reminder. Because I need some type of like
mm,
alert to tell me to do something at certain times. So everything goes to a date and a time to schedule back to me because
yeah.
my squirrel brain forgets literally everything. So I unfortunately have to live and die by my reminders in my calendar. But I found that my phone's the easiest way to do it because I can just talk to my watch or talk to my phone and say do something at this date and time.
Yeah. And it's always there, right? It's always there to be
Yeah, and
communicated
I
with.
mean, in worst case, if it pops up like oh, I don't have time today. Like probably at like 11 o'clock tomorrow. So I just edit it,
Mm,
change the time, and I kick the can down the road. And sometimes that might be like 2 to 3 weeks of doing that, but at least
mm,
it doesn't go away. So it can be
absolutely.
a little stressful sometimes, but at least it lets me probably be a lot more organized than I otherwise could be. And I generally don't drop the ball on anyone because
Hmm.
I make sure that those things are written down to some capacity.
That's the thing. It's not so much forgetting my stuff; it's forgetting someone else's stuff. If I get something that was like, that's the
Yeah.
worst, right? I just feel, and I can't get over my guilt. you know.
Yep.
This is what happened. I mean, I still haven't gotten over the fact that I missed a user group like a year ago. I'll be apologizing for that one forever. It's just it was a classic midnight mix up, midnight with the date. Because for my time it
Oh
was
yeah.
midnight, and it just is. It is what it is. Thank you for these comments that are by the way saying about. Oh, I was clicked on the wrong one.
And
Thank you very
there
much,
are a
Leisure.
couple of things
It's very kind of
that
you.
are annoying too with scheduling stuff because I mean I have to manage my live streams and schedule upcoming ones. So
Hmm,
Outlook lovingly has an option to pick your time zone and your time. It's very
that's
easy to
true.
like I can be in Istanbul and I can still say I know this is supposed to be 9 a.m. Seattle. I don't have to
Hmm,
do any conversion. I just set it to 9 a.m. and it puts it to my
hmm,
local time. Squarespace and YouTube, which is YouTube is where I have to put the scheduled stream
that's
and
interesting.
Squarespace is where I put the blog release.
Hmm.
They are anchored to local time. There's no way to put time zone. So
No way.
I have to normally what I do because I've made this mistake twice now where I accidentally scheduled the stream for the wrong date and time. So I put it in where I think is the correct one, but then I have to put a separate reminder on my phone to tell me when I land back in the U.S. to double check to make sure I didn't screw up those. Just because it seems like one of those obvious things where with any time you have an enterprise tool that allows you to schedule times for an event, there should be a way to pick time zone for that, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just very basic stuff. I mean, there's so many things like that that can't deal very well with people who exist in one or exist in two different places. Picking time zone is a classic one. For me, the issue with Windows and languages drives me crazy. Being an English person who lives in Germany sometimes drives me nuts because it's all very fine to set up, like English and then German keyboard, because obviously the keys are in different places. Um,
Yeah.
all this type of stuff. Like the classic is when someone first moved to Germany, trying to get them to try and find the at key, can't do it because it's like it's on the queue, and you got
Oh,
to
so it's not on the two.
no, and you got to press like I don't know what it's called in English to be honest. It's like Steuerung, so Control Shift or something. I can't remember the button is. It's like
Okay.
when you first move here, it's just like where the hell is the at button and yeah, all this kind of stuff. And then I got my new work computer, and everything was set up perfectly as it was English where it should be. And then I opened my browser, and then my browser, even though it was saying it was using Windows settings, everything was open in German, which is fine because obviously I can speak German, I can read German. But sometimes when you just want to like your brain melt and just do something easily, you want to do it in your own language, right? and it's just this complexity of global. I mean, Chris, the challenge of global jet set social media influencers. I'm like, there's like, yeah, those as well. But for me, I'm just like a 39-year-old dude who's sitting at home at my computer. I'm a computer, you know. But yeah, the social media influencers as well. My heart always goes off them. Actually, I always, when I think of social media influencers, this is a really random comment. I'm sorry. It reminds me of like early pandemic. There was a
Yeah.
social media influencer in the UK. I'm not sure if you saw this video. It went a little bit viral. I think it was an influencer who was demanding to be let travel to I think it was Dubai, because she was a social media influencer, and she's like, I'm influencer.
Okay.
If I don't go and show people what it's like, they'll never know, and all this type of stuff. And it was like peak pandemic. Like people, I mean, like,
Yeah.
not nice things happen to their families. People couldn't get to their loved ones, and it was like, no, let me go to Dubai because I'm an influencer. I was like, yeah, that's a good one. I
Those are
like
the
that.
same people who will email hotels and stuff like, "Excuse me, can I stay for free?" Like I'll totally share lots of pictures and give you guys a nice rating on my feed.
Mm.
I have 1,000 followers.
Yeah, I love that.
It's like, no, no, no,
that
come on. No,
that was
you're
a,
not even an actual
yeah,
influencer.
an influencer in 2001, maybe. I'm not sure.
I'm hoping that just
Yeah.
that word exits the vernacular at some point, like YOLO. YOLO was a thing for a while. Nobody says YOLO anymore. I'm hoping influencer goes away as well. It's just it leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
I hope influencer goes away. It can be applied to so many things, just life in general, certain industries.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got that way. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
Back to Power BI.
Yes.
If there was one thing that affects you on your day-to-day work more than anything that you wish that it was there, what is it?
So is it something that's not there that I wish was, or something
Yes.
that is there that I wish? Okay, then.
Oh, both actually. If something
Uh,
that is there that you wish was different, that would also be.
I mean, there is one thing that I've started to integrate recently that I'm trying to actually add into my daily schedule is I hired a company that does virtual assistants because
Okay.
I realized month over month like my work the amount of build hours has been going down, and like I had kind of like a month that I thought would be really easy, and I
Hmm.
was still pretty much working 8 hours a day, and like, oh, there's so many like office and admin tasks that I'm doing for business
Hmm.
development and just I could list like 40 things that, part of running a company. Like I really just I need to hire someone to just help me with all these things. So they're
Okay.
not complicated. They're just time consuming. Like
Hmm.
even everything with just making the thumbnails, scheduling the all the stuff with channels and
Hmm.
blog posts and this. So that is something that I have wanted to be there that I'm trying to make it happen, and I'm training someone up to do all of that. But I'm hoping to be able to hand off like 20 or 30 hours a month of this kind of back end work to
Hmm.
free myself up to be able either do build work or be more creative with the
Hmm.
business.
I should
Especially
be.
with that. Yeah.
I meant more like Power BI feature. To be honest, that's more.
Oh, okay,
I should have
gotcha.
been more specific. I'm not such a trained interviewer such as yourself, Reid. I have to be
Yeah.
even more precise for my questions. But the good answer anyway.
Okay.
I'll take that.
Sure.
Like
So for Power BI, let's see.
when you drink, I'll
Hmm.
give an example of mine. Right. So mine, for
Okay.
example, I refuse to admit that Power BI has been updated until the feature that gets added is the ability to remove drill through pages to from page navigation, for example.
Yes, you mentioned that
And
the other day.
yeah, and I'll never stop saying that Power BI has been updated until that exists because it really frustrates
I
me.
I found one workaround for it that does work. Is you create a bookmark read page that you want to go to, you name it,
Mm,
you folder it, and then you assign bookmarks as the a bookmark navigator, and then
mm,
that lets you create a custom set
yeah,
of navigation buttons with the correct page names, but filtered to only the pages you want to go to, ignoring the drill through pages. So
yeah,
they're because I was with a client the other day with that exact like how do I get rid of the bookmark
mm,
or how do I get rid of the drill through pages? Like you technically can't yet, but
yeah.
here is one solution: is you basically you have 4 pages, create 4 bookmarks, configure them, name them, and then put them into a group, and then
Yeah.
assign said group to the bookmark
So
navigator.
it's like you're using the bookmark navigator instead of the page navigator essentially, right? It's like
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is what
because like that was the only way previously to go to a page is you create the
exactly.
bookmark, turned everything off except for current page.
Yeah.
So it's not the best solution. So it's still feasible. It's just a lot of extra steps to implement.
Yeah, which is frustrating because they did so much. Like, as you said before, you could only do the page navigation through buttons, and that changed. You could do like the actual page navigation
Yep.
normally, and then they brought out two awesome features. And for me, it's so close. And I've said this so many times, but it's so close, and it just anytime where if you're using a workaround, we all use workarounds, and that this is great, and it's sometimes really good fun, but sometimes you want them just be a way. That should just be the way,
Yep.
right?
Well,
Anyway.
as there were some internal discussions recently with some MVPs, as I like to phrase it, is there is a certain degree of job security that sometimes this software builds in for this community, which is nice. It's like in a perfect world, I would love a lot of these features to be implemented, but when they aren't implemented well, uh, that gives us options to create videos that like, hey, if you needed, you know, like I actually had like one of my notes on my long list of actual videos to do is how to remove bookmarks from the page navigation, and like I actually will eventually release a video on that because that is a workaround that
True.
works, but people might not realize it. So at least for now, it creates some extra merit for experts out there to provide some solutions for the users. But my end goal will always be to make things simpler. I think for me, one of the biggest things that I want is every configuration for a page or a visual that I can edit. So those are basically like the font size, the font color, basically any attribute that I as the developer can edit. I want a way to have like an F of X button next to it. So like I want that
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I want to be able to have a measure that says based off of a condition, I want this single value card at the top to increase by 10 points. I want the font size to get bigger, to call it out. Like it not only changes color, but it zooms in a little bit because this is a bad number now or something. So
Absolutely.
like that's my end goal. It's just basically just imagine any attribute as long as I can go and edit that by a pick list or by entering a number or a color. There should be a way to anchor it to a field value in the model that basically gives it that information. And I think that is the long-term goal for it. It's going to be a few years, but there should be no reason why I can't intelligently or dynamically change basically any of those attributes. And that I would even go as far as I want to be able to have the theme dynamically change. That to
Yeah,
have any of
that's
I would love the theme to be
yeah,
part
that'd
of
be
the pick
good.
list where they could just like basically light and dark mode kind of
Yeah.
scenario for that. The page background color, like all of that stuff, I want to be able to toggle because I think it will drastically open up the art of possible on really cool like interactive dynamic ways that the reports can change
It,
as
it
the
would be
data
very
changes or
cool.
people interact with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I mean, actually, interestingly enough, I think I made a video a while back about changing theme, not really changing theme, but using slices to change the colors across. And
Yep.
actually, when I was making that video, I think I was halfway through making it, and I realized there was no way to, well, there was no of this FX, but you couldn't conditionally change the page background.
Yeah.
I was like, really, you can't do that. Damn it. So I had to come up with like some horrible hack, like put a shape in the background, like a big rectangle. So it's horrible, but it'll, what I mean, because there's no way to, I mean, there wasn't
Yeah.
then. Is there still? No, I think there still isn't. To damn it, to basically conditionally change the page background. It's just not, well, the wallpaper, whatever, can't be done. And actually, yeah, you're right. I think I heard a while ago when they first started putting a lot of, I mean, they did do a lot for the whole, the FX buttons a lot, but I also heard that they were kind of planning to do on everything, but it's still a long way from there. And it would be good because you mentioned, changing good, obviously, colorblind themes, and even if you could just dynamically change font size, could also be a thing for people. If you're if you're going to review a report, you view most of your reports like on the screen on your work screen, on your monitor. But if you're presenting something, kind of nice to be able to kind of like switch font size to dynamically and say, okay, we're showing this on the big screen. Let's switch to 16 or whatever.
Well,
That
like
kind of thing.
think about this too. Is like you could actually because often like access labels might have a different number than like the title or anything
Mm,
else on the page. But if you had like a what if slicer with a slider on there that just
mm.
let's assume there's like zero is the default, and you basically do like a +1 +2. All you have to do is have all a measure that takes
Okay.
whatever the default font size is for everything plus
Plus that, yeah,
that number. So that way they don't have to be the exact same size, but you can basically increment up or down. Like a 12-point
exactly.
font becomes 13, 25 becomes 26. but they can just simply slide back and forth and just
Hmm.
dynamically increase or decrease the font on everything on the page. And I think
Yeah,
that'd be a really cool design option for individuals on
would be
mobile,
very
or just
cool.
maybe they have a smaller laptop and they can zoom without having to like actually zoom in on a section of the chart.
Yeah, I expect to see that video soon from you, mate.
As soon as that becomes available, like
Yeah.
it's a basic number, and yeah, imagining that it will definitely come at some point. I just don't know when.
Yeah, the ability to use a slicer to change like figures. I think a lot of CEOs would like to have that to be able to change like the net sales. Maybe these net sales are too low. Let's move this slicer and make them bigger. There you go. I got more net sales now because my slicer said so. Add.
Yep.
So I think my dog just went crazy. Not sure if you heard that. There's a dog going mental in the background. Normally my family are here, but my family are away in Italy at the moment, so there's no one to calm my dog down. So he's just gonna go crazy there for a little bit.
Yeah, no worries.
All good, all good. But yeah, actually, that would be cool. It would be a nice kind of like added feature to have all that. But I mean, there are lots of them, and it's a typical thing where you know, are they gonna get to them all, or are they gonna get to the one that you are really focused on? Like for example, the one I'm focused on with the drill through page. Apparently, that's not on the development plan until the end of the year. So, or it's not basically it's not on this year at all, I should say. So,
Yeah.
I'll have to wait and do our beautiful workarounds, mate.
Yeah, I mean, well, like I said, that might be a video in 6 to 8 weeks that comes out on my channel. So
I'll follow the steps. I promise.
there you
Okay, hold
go.
on. Flex, shut up. Sorry, trying to wait dog to be quiet there.
Smart dog if he understands that.
Sometimes he just hears my voice, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
like with my family, like with my wife, he loves my wife. Like seriously, he's like never apart from her. He's where my wife is, that's where he is. And the kids as well, he'll play with them, give them the odd bite if
Yep.
they kind of go too far, which is what dogs do with kids. Fair enough. So nothing, nothing crazy, but just like the odd, like stop it. But with me, we have a strange relationship because of course, he's my dog, love him very much. However, when I walk into a room, he just, like changes his behavior completely because I'm the only one who like tells him off. I'm the only one who says stop or says no.
So you're the authority.
Yeah, only over the dog, you understand, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. That
So
he is your domain.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, as soon as I leave the room, he of course, completely ignores me and goes back to doing what he was doing. Sorry, alpha male. Yeah, totally. It's a small dachshund, by the way. So it's not like it's a huge German Shepherd. So it's a oops, I always do that. So like I'm the alpha male, if you want to call it, over this tiny little dog that kind of and also doesn't feel that way when he gets so excited that he kind of jumps up and as he's barking and getting excited and wants to play and then gets so excited that he does a pee on me. Doesn't really feel that alpha in those situations, but what are you going to do? That's just dogs being dogs, right? Or at least my dog being
Exactly.
my dog, not all dogs. He's a very
Little dogs definitely are a little barkier on average.
yes, they are. We got him because he was a perfect apartment dog, and then like a month later, we moved into a house. So he couldn't walk up the stairs for the first month. He's too small.
Oh
So
no.
yeah, it was like we have to carry this dog up the stairs every single time. I had to
You
literally
got to build like you got to get one of those little dog ramps. You can just lay it. It's like you lay it down on the stair in the corner, so they can just have a little ramp to walk up.
class. Or something that we can both have is a standard chairlift, whatever you call them. These like chairlifts that you have for the
Oh
old
yeah, for the
grandma
old people,
grandpa.
they slowly just work their way up. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then the entire family could use it, and the kids could break it within a minute and a half. It'd be fantastic stuff. Ah, man. Anyway, mate, I didn't realize. Sorry, it's 5 to 9, and I said it would only take 45 minutes. I do apologize for going over the time
No
there. I was
worries.
just
Yeah. No, the
enjoying the
chat's been great.
conversation. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. We spoke about Pi Guy a little bit, right? Mostly Pokemon and Taco Bell, but I think
There are Pokemon, Taco Bell, British and American TV shows, some Power BI in there, business things we like. Like I think we kind of like it was a good little roller coaster in and out of it. We
yeah,
kept dipping our toes in the conversation. Yeah, this
e-
is great.
exactly how it should be. All right, let's leave it at that. I had a really good time, mate. Thank you so much for joining. It's much appreciated. I know you're a
Yeah, this has
busy
been a blast.
person.
Thank you. Yeah,
Absolutely. And everyone in the chat asking questions, getting involved, always good fun. Thank you so much. I shall be back next Thursday, and I will be speaking to Azure McFarlane all about Power Automate on that day, because love me a little bit of Power Automate sometimes, all right? Cool. So I shall see you all next Thursday. Reid, I shall see you soon. And thank you very much. Goodbye.
Yeah. Cheers, everyone.